A single unexpected event can reveal major weaknesses in the Indo-Pacific security system and raise the risk of a serious conflict at sea. At 10:03 p.m., the USS Dewey's commander had 15 seconds to prevent a regional war. 11 seconds earlier, his AEGIS radar had gone dark, then flashed back on. It revealed a Chinese nuclear submarine surfacing in the path of a Philippine resupply ship. No shots were fired. Later, it became clear the PLA wasn't trying to start a war but to measure the response. This is the story of 17 minutes when deterrence faltered. One officer's decision avoided disaster. The crisis didn't begin with a blackout. It started at 9:40 p.m., 14 nautical miles northwest of 2nd Thomas Shoal, a disputed reef in the South China Sea. The crew of the Philippine Coast Guard ship BRP Bagong Lunsod was on a routine mission. They delivered food and water to Marines on the BRP Sierra Madre, a World War II ship grounded on the shoal to support Manila's claim. For 6 hours, a PLA Navy frigate, hull number 546, had followed them. This kind of intimidation was common. Then, without warning, the frigate stopped. It didn't turn away or speed up. It just stayed still in the dark water. In the South China Sea, when a Chinese warship stops for no clear reason, the real question is what it's waiting for. The answer was underwater and getting closer. At 8:15 p.m., the USS Dewey, an Arleigh Burke-class U.S. Navy destroyer, left its patrol area. It moved to investigate an unusual sound 180 miles north. AP-8, a Poseidon aircraft, callsign Sentinel-12, had been tracking a Type 093B submarine, China's most advanced nuclear attack sub. The 093B is hard to detect because its pump jet propulsion is very quiet. Still, Sentinel-12 picked up a brief burst of data. The submarine was at periscope depth, watching. Then it went silent. This was the first in a series of failures over the next 90 minutes. As the Dewey moved north, the Poseidon passed the submarine's last known location to a network of sonobuoys. These are underwater listening devices used to detect submarines. But there was a problem. 2 buoys failed during deployment. This left a 4-mile coverage gap. The 093B didn't disappear. It moved slowly and quietly through that gap, heading straight for the resupply lane at 2nd Thomas Shoal. To prevent this vulnerability in the future, several technical measures are needed. These include deploying extra overlapping arrays of AN/SSQ-53 DIFAR and AN/SSQ-62 diecast sonobuoys in a staggered pattern for redundancy, especially where failures are likely. Each buoy should be checked remotely before launch. Automated health checks should monitor their status in real time. Surface ships and aircraft should have software that instantly alerts crews when a buoy goes offline. This enables crews to quickly dispatch replacements by helicopter or drone. Using real-time logging, post-event reviews, and AI-powered anomaly detection in the sensor network can also help reduce the risk of exploitation. By 9:55 p.m., the Bagong Lunsod neared the shoal. The PLA frigate stayed behind it with its lights on, watching the area between the Philippine ship and the grounded Sierra Madre. It focused on the water directly ahead of the Bagong Lunsod. The frigate did not block the mission. Instead, it observed. It positioned itself for a clear view of the resupply operation. It also stayed far enough from Dewey's patrol area to avoid an immediate reaction. It waited for something to happen. The Dewey was 22 miles away and dismissed the northern anomaly as organic. This likely meant it was caused by non-hostile sources such as marine life or natural events. In the Combat Information Center, AEGIS scanned the horizon. All systems appeared normal. Radar was clear, and sonar showed no contacts. At 10:03 p.m., the situation hit its most critical moment. At 10:03 p.m., a burst of strong electromagnetic interference struck Dewey's SPY-1DV radar. This is a sophisticated air and missile search radar used by U.S. Navy destroyers. This was not traditional jamming, but a targeted, high-power signal. For 11 seconds, the radar displayed only static. During that time, the 093B submarine did an emergency blow, a rapid ascent to the surface, achieved by quickly venting compressed air into ballast tanks. It rose quickly from the depths, piercing the surface just 3.1 miles in front of the Bagong Lunsod. The Philippine watch officer looked up from his AIS screen, the Automatic Identification System, a tracking device that displays ship locations, which had also gone blank for a moment, and saw the large black hull of a nuclear submarine rising from the water in the dark. He had no information and no radio call from the Dewey. All he had were his standing orders for an imminent threat. He picked up the phone and called the Joint Operations Center in Manila. By 10:04 p.m., the colonel on duty in Manila faced a difficult decision. A foreign submarine was blocking a national resupply mission. The U.S. ally had suddenly stopped communicating. He tried to call the U.S. Embassy Defense Attaché, but the call went to voicemail. This silence seemed unsettling. At 10:05 p.m., his only available resources were 2 Philippine Air Force FA-50 light fighters at Palawan on 6-minute alert. On the Dewey, the radar came back online. The tactical action officer, responsible for combat operations, immediately spotted the 093B. Within 40 seconds, he had calculated a targeting solution but did not activate the fire control radar. This system guides weapons to their targets. The rules of engagement were complicated. The 093B was inside a maritime exclusion zone but had not fired. Still, it was blocking a sovereign mission. The Dewey's commander reached the bridge in 45 seconds. He saw the submarine, the moving Philippine boat, and the Chinese frigate watching from the south. The radio came to life. The Philippine watch officer, sounding tense, said, "Sir, the FAC is asking if we have authorization to request air support." This was the most critical moment. If Dewey or the Philippine side authorized air support, the situation could escalate uncontrollably. The commander had seconds to read intent. "We're aware," the commander replied over the radio. "Do not engage. Repeat, do not engage." For the next 8 minutes, the Dewey tried to contact the 093B on Channel 16, the International Maritime Distress Frequency. The submarine did not respond. Instead, it sent a message on a military frequency, reporting its position to an unknown recipient. It was not communicating with the US, but with its own command. This showed it had completed its mission. At 10:12 p.m., the 093B began to descend as smoothly as it had surfaced. It disappeared underwater. The frigate to the south started its engines again and resumed following the Philippine ship. The Philippine crew finished the resupply by 11:30 p.m. No one fired shots, and officials did not mention the blackout in any protest. But the military record leaves out an important detail. The 093B did not surface by accident. When a submarine surfaces in a known lane, at the exact moment the AEGIS system is disrupted, it is carrying out a latency reconnaissance mission. This is a deliberate action to test and record how long it takes an opponent to respond to a threat. They were testing our response times. How long did the Dewey take to restore its radar? How long before the commander reached the bridge? When did the Philippine command nearly authorize air support? The 093B's mast recorded all these chronologies while the submarine lay on the surface. PLA analysts will use these numbers in the next wargame. The main weakness revealed was not technological, but the command structure. A Sonobuoy gap and a radar outage left a Philippine officer isolated. This nearly triggered conflict. To fix this, establish backup communication links, automated support tools, and cross-allied escalation channels. These ensure rapid, clear decisions. China never acknowledged the incident. The world treats the South China Sea as background noise, and routine protests mask the seriousness. Chinese leaders strategically normalize tensions. Each unaddressed event sets a new standard. The 093B has found the gap. Now, Indo-PACOM tries to determine what the PLA will do with this information. Somewhere underwater, a submarine crew that understands exactly how long our response takes still waits for the next opportunity. Going forward, analysts expect the PLA to apply lessons from this operation. They will likely incorporate Allied command and response times into future strategy. PLA actions may coordinate more disruptions across several domains. This could target command communications and radar networks during key moments in resupply and patrol missions. The PLA's actions in this event demonstrate precision and deniability. This suggests a shift toward operations that weaken deterrence without triggering open conflict, testing new limits, and exploiting uncertainty. As the PLA gathers more information about Allied procedures and reaction times, it will likely push regional actors to hesitate or delay in the next crisis. Public standoffs may give way to fast, high-stakes timing contests in the South China Sea. To prepare for and counter these timing-based disruptions, operational leaders should establish continuous monitoring for electromagnetic and communication issues along key maritime routes and resupply paths. Automated change detection systems connected to command and radar networks can alert analysts to small timing changes and unforeseen outages that may signal hostile activity. Frequently updating Allied procedures with data from exercises and incidents, along with intelligence from space, air, and undersea sensors, can help predict PLA tactics as they change. Running joint crisis simulations that test command handoff and backup communications will reveal hidden timing weaknesses before an adversary can use them. Finally, having rapid response teams ready to deploy mobile communication relays or drone-based sensors at a moment's notice will help close decision gaps when every second counts.